This essay was written January 4th, 2017, and is number 5 of 20 in the series Diagnosed Mortal. Found alive in the desert. I was always taken with the story of the missing years Jesus spent wandering the desert that I read about in the Bible. I like mysteries, so of course this would pique my curiosity. When my sons reached their 20s, they disappeared into what I referred to as their Jesus years. They disappeared, forgetting all family encumbrances, and went deeply into the self-actualization of their 20s. Off they went to go and get into as much trouble as is humanly possible without dying. I had 2 small children in my 20s, and I managed to get into a lot of mischief, but none of the robust nature that my peers enjoyed going to university before they started their families, if they chose to have them. So imagine my surprise then, pushing 40, and my sons are safely ensconced living with their father. I found myself in an actual desert, granted my Jesus years, suggesting a do-over of all the hoopla that I missed. Tempe, Arizona. It was warm at night in the desert, and such a strange world to me, being from the Northwest, that I felt that I must have landed on Mars or a planet in another solar system entirely. Double plus in this, I was older, not too old to play and not too young to define what was actually fun. Triple play? It was the 90s, and a renaissance of music, art, and poetry was fermenting. Live music. I could go see bands play and dance with abandon all day and night for $5. I found dancers, poets, and painters, and all kinds of trouble to get into. It was a heavenish hell for the first 7 years anyway. Yesterday I was invited to listen to a lecture by a Buddhist teacher by a friend that I made in those desert years. In the podcast, this teacher discussed past lives, and I had to laugh listening because I was recalling my desert years as he spoke. I know it is not the Buddhist way to look back over one's life, but I like to look at things from new perspectives. It is like holding a many-faceted gemstone up to the light. There is something new and interesting to see in every way the light source plays upon the events. My going to the desert was really tabula rasa for me, with a whiff of a Carthaginian lifetime thrown in for good measure. I ended up going to the desert after my father died unexpectedly in February of 1988. I quipped to myself in my first midsummer, when the temps reached 115 degrees in Phoenix, that I must have followed my dad into hell this time to find him. And though I laughed at the thought, I actually did just that in the end, as I found where he resides inside me. I had spent most of my life psychically stalking my father, way before it was a thing. I was doing it from early childhood. Like children are wont to do, I was like a heat-seeking nature missile aiming towards filling my void. Every step I took as a child was towards my eventual spiritual emergence. Primed for the times, though of course it did not feel like that at the time. It felt like a brutal assault on the senses, and it was. My wounds became my powers in the end. I'm sure there were some who took me to be emotionally ill and even psychotic over the years. Perhaps at times I was watched over, or something mystical was at work, because I felt protected, mostly. I felt like I'd been reborn being in the desert. I had some of the issues I'd resolved, and some of the ones I had not, and a whole new environment in which to explore it all. I had some impressive personal turning points and some crushing failures, just like any incarnation. But it was This Is Your Life, the musical. I saw some things. I'm telling you. I saw Eddie Vedder scale and hang from the stage scaffolding and dive into the audience, and it took my breath away. I saw Trent Reznor have a psychotic break over his equipment melting down in the very first performance of Lollapalooza ever. I got a little scared over that. I saw David Byrne sing outside under the full moon in the warm desert night and swooned a bit. I saw so many bands I can't even remember half of them. There was music everywhere, it seemed. I met some nice people who I am still friends with, and I lost a few friends in the messes I made. I hope they eventually found that okay. My do-over Jesus years was an important time of my life. It should be noted that I left Arizona after 13 years, a much better person for the experience. When I die in 17 days and I'm off into the next realm, I hope those whose path I crossed at that time feel the same regarding encounters with me. They say Jesus went to the desert to confront Satan and deal with the death of his ego. I say it was probably that and then some. I suggest he had to face some Virgin Madre issues and find out how to stand on his own two sandaled feet so he could decide to walk his talk. Speaking personally, I'd say the desert is a perfect place to learn how to do just that. Thank you for listening. This audio file can be found with a corresponding blog post at allthedifferentways.com.